All right, so up next, we got another training video. Surprise, surprise. We're gonna go back into our new kitchen project and continue working on making some modifications. From our previous video, you learned how we can import a PDF into the drawing and use it as a reference to start laying out our walls and products. But now I'm gonna show you other ways that we can make some modifications to these products and get this job ready for production. So if you don't have Toolbox started up already, let's go ahead and do that and get into this next training exercise. So just changing my view here so we can get a better look at what's going on inside of our kitchen. Go ahead and hide these walls. Let's make sure we have our select entire product on. So we're hiding that door. Okay, there we go. That looks better. So going through this kitchen, we have to make some modifications since they did come out of the library just as default. We'll go through our base cabinets first, and then from there, we'll move on to the uppers. So the sink cabinet, we don't really have to do anything to that one, but I do want to go through and change the heights of these drawer fronts. So we can go through the steps on how to do this. First off, we're in our prompts page. We want to right click in this open area, go to our calculators and to our drawer front calculator. And here we can update the heights. Now, because this is a 3 drawer stack, it doesn't look to our global variable setting for a top default drawer front height. These are set up a little bit differently because they have the calculator inside of them. So once we have our top drawer front height set, I'm going to check the other 2 boxes, make those equal, hit calculate. And now we can do that to the other remaining cabinets. Now don't be doing this inside of a conceptual view. If you are, change it to a 2D wireframe. And then also maybe to a top view, make it a little bit easier to select each one of these cabinets. I am going to go into the Southwest view just for this video, but typically I'd be in a top view making all these changes. But for video purposes, we're going to do it like this so I can easily kind of orbit around and change my view so we can see what's going on. Okay, so let's go back into the next cabinet to the right, and we're going to do this to the remaining 2 cabinets. Make sure you hit that calculate button. And now we got our 3 drawer stacks redrawn. Oh, that looks a lot better. Now to the blind corner cabinet, we're going to leave that width alone. If we wanted to, we can make the adjustment, but the only thing I'm going to do next is change the door reveal on the 1 door base cabinet. Now remember, if you want to do that at the project level, it is a global variable, but it's going to change the right reveal on all the products. So that's typically something you're going to want to do at the local level as it's sitting next to this tall cabinet or some kind of end panel. Okay, so there's another thing that we need to do to these base cabinets before we move on to the uppers. And as you can see on our wall, we have that column. So we're going to do a corner notch to the blind corner cabinet. This new foundation library, it's really easy to go through the prompts and make this happen. Make sure we have the construction options checked. And now under cabinet modification options, you can see all the different ones you have to choose from. We're going to select cabinet notch left. And as you do that, we have a tab that opens up that allows you to select how wide and how deep this notch is going to be. We can double click in here, get into our drawing. Again, make sure that it's not in a conceptual view. I keep forgetting to make that change. But because this is just our cabinet, we can give ourselves a little bit more room than exactly what that column is. So a little trick without having to isolate or use the hide or isolate buttons. You can just select the product, make sure select entire product is on, and use the orbit function. And by doing that, you can see how it's only picking up this one object as you orbit around. So you get the idea there. We're getting that corner notch. New pieces have been added to the product with the machining, so that's ready to go. Now let's take a look at these upper cabinets, see what we have to do here. Obviously, because of this crown molding, we're going to take 1/8 of an inch off of the height on these upper doors. It's called an upper top gap in global variables, so we're going to make that change. Once we do that, we'll also go into this blind corner cabinet, make some changes there. But as far as the project level settings, the only thing we need to do is go into our global variables to change our upper top gap. Now, because we're in our spec groups, I'm going to go ahead and make this name change here. You don't have to rename your spec groups, but I typically like to do this just in case there's other spec groups that need to be used inside of a project. We can keep track of what's going on. So these will just be called our PL1 kitchen cabinets. And it's just renaming at this point. Go into our global variable file. Now I know the name of the variable, but if I don't know where it is, I can use our find variable and start typing in upper. I just typed in UP really fast and it gets me down to these upper variable names. Okay, so the upper top gap, you can see it takes us right to the category where that variable is. Now, without selecting anything in here, if you don't see anything highlighted, just go right to the scroll bar and scroll down. As soon as you select in this open space, you're not going to see that blue highlighted value anymore. I do recommend to go through all these global variables at some point just to get yourself familiar with everything inside of here, just opening up each category so you can see where everything's at. Into the upper top gap, we're going to make this change. So we're going to give ourselves 1/8 of an inch. Remember, always hitting OK after we type in this value. Now we're in the panel reveals section of these global variables. So you can see also above we have our tall top, our base top gap. Now we have our tall cabinet in there too. So I'm going to change our value on that one. Give that 1/8 of an inch also. And now we can close out of our globals, hitting OK, and back into our drawing. Remember, always redraw inside of the wireframe view. So I'm just going to cycle through and redraw each one of these cabinets. And now those cabinets have been redrawn. Change our view again. You can see here now that we got our 1/8 of an inch gap between our crown molding and our doors. So that looks good. And remember, that is a project level setting. So every upper cabinet inside of the project will have that upper top gap. Same with our tall cabinets. Now there's a few more things that we need to do for the upper cabinets before we can move along. Let's go into that blind corner cabinet. Same thing that we did to our base, turning on our construction options. Again, that's a global variable, so if you want that always to be on, just change that in your globals at your template level. Cabinet modifications, cabinet notch left. So now we're good. We're notched around that column. Let's go to a top view by typing in UPL. I just want to zoom in on our corner filler here. So you'll notice that we don't have that blind fascia panel or an additional panel flush to the door. I just left that off intentionally. If you wanted to, you can go back into the prompts of that cabinet and we can make that change. So this one is called our add blind fascia prompt. By selecting that, you have the option to change the blind fascia width. And also we're going to have to make an adjustment on our corner filler width now, since we're going to add another 7/8. So let's change that to 3. And the blind corner width, this is going to be the depth of the adjacent cabinet plus this value of the corner width. So just keep that in mind. If we're taking off 7/8 here, I'm going to also want to take off the same amount on that. Let's get that right, 15 7/8. Okay, so now we have that blind fascia panel. And we may have to do some other things with our other fillers since they're all set back beyond the face of the cabinet doors and flush with the cabinet box. So we're going to go through the steps on how to make that change also, but that's going to be coming up in our next video. Along with that, we have to make another change to that upper cabinet. You see we don't have a glass door, so that's when we're going to start getting into our sub-assemblies. So in the foundation library, outside of the carcass, which is just the cabinet box, we have our fillers and doors, shelves, and some other parts which are called sub-assemblies. And all those make up our entire product. So we're going to get into that a little bit more in our next video and showing how to access those sub-assemblies through our prompts page. All right, so that brings us to a good stopping point. We'll call this one done for now, and we'll pick it back up in our next video. So until next time, keep practicing, and we'll meet back here for some more training.